My name's Declan Duffy, and I was brought up in Northern Ireland, and this is my story. Many people would have written my life off because of my dyslexia and the way I was brought up, but God had an awesome plan for my life. I left school at 16 and I started to work in a community workshop in Derry. I met a lady that would help me to read and write and introduced me to her family. Her family she had 7 kids and a couple of them were in prison, and she invited me to go and see her sons in prison. During that time it was a very political place in Northern Ireland. The hunger strike was just about to start. When I went up there to meet him, he had something in his mouth and he gave it to me, and I put it in my mouth to take it out of prison. A few years later, I got arrested under Section 11 Terrorism Act, and they would see if you got any guns or any bombs or whatever, or seeing where you were. I don't know who was watching me, but the police were probably watching our house and whatever. And they took me into a police barracks and kept me for 3 days. And they were so good at getting in your mind. And then during that time, I was really nervous. Like these people were very professional of being able to question people, and they had me dancing on the tables, and really they could have got me to say anything, but being brought up in Northern Ireland, you were very strong that you wouldn't say, even if you did. I didn't know anything at the time. And anyway, they released me about two or 3 days later, and I kind of like, I better watch where I'm going here. A friend of mine told me about a job in the south of Ireland, and I arrived in Tory Island, and I spent 18 months in a place like building holiday homes, and that was a good way. I think that was God. When I look back, I think that was God's plan of getting me out of there at that time, because it was all kicking off. And one of my friends went to karate, and he said, you can go to England free. They pay for you to go there. It was called CSV. And that was a way of me getting out of Northern Ireland, because it sent me to a place called Cardiff, in a hospital with people with learning disabilities. I was put in a nurse's home, and I thought this was great, because there was plenty of people wanted to go down the pub, plenty of people wanted to party really, and got a job after that in the hospital. Because I didn't have no relationship with God. Because I was brought up as a really strict Catholic in a nunnery. I ended up hating God, and thinking, oh, religion's rubbish. There was a big empty space basically there. It was just nothing could fill that space. I could try filling it by alcohol or whatever. I had a friend that was just discovering Christianity through a friend in work. He was getting baptised, he became a Christian, and he got loads of tickets printed. We have about 200 of the people in Ely Hospital and all his friends. And I ended up going to his baptism, and a fellow up the front said, do you know you could have a relationship with God, and Jesus could live in your heart? And it's something just came my heart kind of like opened to this, that I never suddenly thought of it. I thought it was all about religion, you had to do things and whatever, but this guy said, just ask them into your heart. And when I done that, it was almost switching a switch on. My eyes were open really, and I could see what was going on, and my whole life changed. My whole purpose and my whole living changed. When I went back into work or back into my social life, they could see the difference in my life. I suddenly found a Father God, and I started thinking about my childhood. Growing up without any family, I was brought up in a nunnery kind of thing, like in care. And I remember crying out if I could have a family. Little did I know that was to come a mighty plan of God's in my life. When I was about 28, I was working in Ely Hospital at the time, and there was a lady doing advocacy, and I heard about this lady before I met her, and little did I know how much this lady would change my life. I got married to her, and one of the first things we were talking about was what our plans were and our lives and whatever, and she always wanted to look after children, and I was the same, from my childhood, that I have always wanted to have a real thing about families. Soon after we got married, we found out that I couldn't have children. Straight away, we started looking after children. They were 16, and it was a scheme that kids from care or were leaving care at 16 or were homeless. We done that for about a year, and that was great. And then we decided that we would want to foster children. And I just, God's plan is amazing, because Gail had a relationship with Jesus when she was younger, and the plan seemed to come together. We started fostering children in November 20 years ago, and in between the last 20 years we've had maybe 50 children, and 10 of them would associate me as their father or father figure. Well, we used to play games when we were kids, board games and whatever, and I think I was dealt a bit of a bad hand when I was a kid. But when I think of my life now, it's a royal flush, because I've got the King of Kings in my life. I got Gail, that is the Queen of Hearts. I got loads of family, kids that call me dad. I got grandkids that are amazing, and I got the best hand that any person could have.